Welcome to QI, where tonight we'll be putting sliced bread to shame and reinventing the wheel in a show all about inventions. And joining me at the lab bench, we have a world first, Nina Conti and Gran.
Hello.
The peculiarly innovative Sean Locke. Thank you. The patently absurd Bill Bailey. I'm afraid it's back to the drawing board. Alan Davis. Now, panel, if you have any bright ideas you wish to share, activate the light bulb in front of you. Bill goes. Sean goes. Nina or Gran go.
Me. Hurry.
And Alan goes. Excellent. So you brought your grandmother with you?
Yes. Hello.
Is she familiar with our rule? We have a, in this series, we have a don't know rule. We have a nobody knows rule.
All right.
There's a joker, which you have there, which is the nobody knows. There.
Nobody knows.
Ah, you see, and there may be a question to which nobody actually knows the answer. There is no right answer. The answer is nobody knows. Can she...
Yes,
grandmother...
there you go,
I can
Gran.
hold it. Look.
Look,
Look.
there you go.
It's
You got it?
Yes.
She's got a little bit of arthritis in the fingers.
That's mesmerising. Look at that.
Yes, it's...
Do you want me to hold it for you?
No, dear.
Oh, all right.
Smack me on the bottom with it, dear.
Great!
I won't be like that. I'm just excited.
Fair enough. Good. Now, my first question is, why should you be glad that you didn't invent the flying car, the parachute suit, or the web rotary press?
Well, I've got a feeling the guy with the parachute suit,
Yeah.
didn't he die?
He did.
And then it does follow that they all died.
They were all killed by their own invention. The inventor of the web rotary press, for example, which was a huge advance.
Yes.
And it revolutionised printing. And unfortunately, the inventor fell into the works and got gummed up in them and died.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. Very sad business. Very sad business. But it did change printing. He was called William Bullock.
Oh.
Yeah.
Which bit of it did he fall in?
Well, into the sort of gearing. I can't imagine how he would have managed it, really.
There was a bloke the other day, went through a machine, and his whole body went through a tunnel the size of a CD.
What?
And he survived.
What?
Was it Ronnie Corbett?
No. Yeah, that would explain it.
Yeah.
No, his whole head went in, broke every bone in his body.
But he
obviously.
did live?
But he lived.
Wow.
To tell the tale.
Unfortunately, though, he is now in a redundant format.
Well, anyway, that was the fate of William Bullock. And when it comes to the parachute suit, it was a man called Franz Reichel, who was an Austrian, who was convinced that he could jump off the Eiffel Tower. This is in 1912, wearing a parachute suit. People warned him that it was not a good idea. He was utterly confident, ripped a page out of a book to test which way the wind was going. His last words were, "À bientôt."
Unfortunately, that was the instruction manual.
He jumped off and hit the ground a little bit too hard and was dead. So that was not a good result.
That's not actually an invention, then, is it?
Well...
That's just a really stupid thing to do.
Yes.
Where's the actual sort of grey area where inventions just
Well, it was a
become
parachute...
suicide?
It was a parachute suit that might have worked from higher up.
Right.
I mean, the principle behind it was sound, as we know from parachutes. They do work. But he just, unfortunately...
He invented jumping off things.
He invented jumping off things badly.
Badly.
Yeah. The flying car, you ought to know about. Now, this was a Californian engineer called Henry Smolinski. Look at that.
Oh, it's lovely.
It is lovely.
I can't fly or drive, though, because I can't see, because my eyes are goggles. Yes, it's that. But I can point where I want to go, look.
Oh.
There. Higher. There's buildings down there, yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Pull my finger, dear.
OK.
Oh, nothing happened.
Oh. Oh, you've got a very, very warm finger there, Gran.
Oh, no, don't say that, dear. Draw attention to it.
All right.
Where it's been.
OK.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Gran. Yes. I mean, on the face of it, it's rather a marvellous idea. Smolinski's idea was that you drove to an airport, you collected the wings, you'd fly 500 miles on to the next city, where you take the wings off and then you drive off again. And it worked really well. And then in 1973, he was on a flight and one of the struts broke, and he and his co-pilot plunged to their death.
Yes.
And the idea was never thought of again, but I think it should be brought back.
I thought he would have died when he was up in the air, and then he got up to go around with the drinks trolley.
I mean, I think it's simple.
It's a very...
It worked with Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Yes.
Yeah.
So did they have 2 sets of controls, then?
Well, you've asked an intelligent question.
It's extraordinary.
Yeah, I know.
Joysticks and it all turn over like in Thunderbirds or something.
Was that a big switch? Plane, car.
Yes. The car steering was modified to control the ailerons so you could fly from the driver's seat. So it was all pretty much all in one.
So you could actually steer it with the steering wheel?
Basically, yeah. I'd love one of those, wouldn't you?
I'd love one too.
Yeah.
Difficult to park, dear. Yeah, difficult to park.
I think it's a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
I don't like flying.
Don't you?
No. But I was bought a flying lesson for my 40th birthday. My entire family clubbed together and bought me a flying lesson. Yeah. It was £99.
Your entire family spent £99
on my 40th. So I was,
wow.
I was in quite a bad mood when I turned up at the aeroplane.
Especially as there's 99 of them.
I just have to stay in the overhead compartment, don't I, dear? Yeah, I put her in the overhead compartment.
Oh, that's a bit mean.
No nuts. No.
Right. And people have to open the compartment slowly, just in case you fall out and injure someone.
Fall out and hurt someone, yes. It's tragic.
It is tragic,
But I'll keep going.
Yes.
Happy days.
Aren't you allowed to use the loo?
No, I don't have any godly functions, dear. I just sit there for comfort, but nothing happens.
Right.
Too much information, Gran.
There are all these other grands in the overhead compartments all crawling about during the flight.
Right.
I don't know why you even go on the plane. Why don't you just post yourself?
Too expensive, dear, and heavy. That's not true. I lost her once, actually, on a plane. By an airline, you know, which, for legal reasons, I'm not supposed to name. Ryanair.
She's bad.
Did you have to pay an extra seat for her or an extra cabin area or anything?
No, unfortunately, she's a cheapskate. I don't know. That's why I don't know. She's a bit big for hand luggage, so it's a dilemma. Yeah. It's always a risk. Yeah. Would you put your granny in the hold, dear?
No, I wouldn't.
No.
I have a friend who has one of those micro pigs, and she puts the pig in hand luggage and in the cabin without telling them.
It's only a pig, isn't it?
It's one of those tiny pigs.
Are they easy to look after? My wife would love one of those.
Well, you can grow them, can't you, in special tubes? And so they're triangular, then they'll fit in a Toblerone box, you know.
Well, some
Toblerone. No.
Some of them will grow and grow and grow, and you find you've basically got a huge
You've
porker.
actually just got an actual pig.
Yes, what you bought was a piglet.
God, imagine being conned by a pig salesman.
It's called buying a pig in a poke.
Yeah.
It actually is a phrase for it. Pig salesman used to be dishonest.
Really? Can you see that, Nina? What, pig in a poke? Can I see that?
Is that what that means?
Go on, say pig in a poke.
That is a challenge to a ventriloquist. Come on. No, if I say pig in a poke, it's fine.
You say it, Gran.
No.
No.
Go on, Gran. Pig in a coke.
Yay! That was impressive. How do they do that? How do they do that?
I didn't know it meant that. Pig in a poke? What's a poke, then?
A poke's like a sack. A pocket is a small
poke.
poke.
I see. So you haven't seen the pig?
Exactly.
So it could be a dog.
Sight unseen, exactly, yeah. So, yes, the point is all those inventions tragically killed their inventors. Which well-known invention is the wickedness which lurks in the belly and deserves to dwell in the cesspool? The wickedness which lurks in the belly... do we know the last
Sunny Delight?
Do we?
Oh, I know.
Yes, Gran?
We know, because this is... yes, because I'm a belly speaker.
You are a belly speaker, ventriloquism. That's it, so you're a tummy speaker. And it was considered to be a possession by demons, if someone could have this voice come from their tummy that didn't seem to come out of the mouth, or through their voice. he used to say.
Ah.
And there was a patriarch of Constantinople by the name of Photius, who once excommunicated the Pope. And he was the one... There you are. Have a go. Have a go.
Oh, well, we all got these.
Here for the Pope.
Yes. I'm very impressed.
Oh, right.
The weird thing is, that puppet is a ventriloquist, and its lips didn't move when you said that. Yes. So it is operating you, which is fantastic.
It really is a lot... It really is a lot harder than it looks.
Yes.
You've had a stroke, dear.
Hello.
It's like E.T.
Hey.
Oh, no, don't, Gran. No, let's
I
not
am
kiss.
Bogdan. I like you very much. You are an attractive lady.
You're too small for me, dear.
Oh,
If I sat on you and never see you light this day again.
come with me. I have Oyster card.
Are you moving your lips?
How about
It didn't look like you had a state, you only...
Sean, let's see.
John Watts, look.
Sean, let's see if you can do any better. Are you hoping we're going to...
I'm not moving my lips.
He's whispering.
Oh, sorry.
Are you
It's a
hoping...
left-handed puppet, isn't it? Sorry.
I'll speak.
He's poking his...
That's the only thing I'm sensitive to.
Pieces of eight. Pieces of eight.
You don't actually have to stretch your mouth.
That's the only one I'm concerned about. I can't do it any other way. I can't do it.
Hey!
Oh, no! Oh, I bugged it.
You have.
Shit.
Oh,
What is it?
Bill Bailey. Dear. What a wretched disappointment to us all you are. I hope
So I can't get the talking to... I can't get the talking to you. Oh, you're an idiot. I don't want
Yeah,
It's very difficult.
It's
You
not
have to look like you're listening when you're talking.
You look at her when she's talking.
Yes, and you have to look like you're listening when you are, in fact, talking. It's quite difficult. You know, the first rule of show business, make everything look easy. Sorry.
Yes, that's true.
This half-wit over here. Milking it for all it's worth here.
I think, is it not... It doesn't matter if your lips move, because surely this gives the game away.
In those circumstances,
Stick
yes.
here suggests that it's not actually a real thing that's chatting. So it doesn't really matter whether my lips move, does it?
I thought this was a highbrow show.
Yes,
Nina.
quite. And in order to make it highbrow, I'm sure you can help us a little bit, Nina, on the history of ventriloquism.
Well, I know that it has a very dark history and that ventriloquists used to earn their living as if their words were divine utterances.
Yes, that's the point.
Yes. Not you, dear.
I'm so sorry. So sorry, I was listening, but then my hand came out and it got quite... shocked myself.
That's really disturbing.
It's quite disturbing.
Really disturbing. That's horrible.
That is
That's like Alien.
It's like Lady Gaga's sleeves.
Well, yes, you're absolutely right. It was regarded as a divine utterance or demonic possession, in fact, wasn't it?
And I know one woman died from her ventriloquism.
Who was that?
But I don't know her name, I bet you do. With her utterances, she was objecting to the marriage of Henry VIII.
To Anne Boleyn.
To Anne Boleyn.
Her name was Elizabeth Barton, and she was known as the Holy Maid of Kent. And she was a very good ventriloquist, and so these voices would come without her mouth moving, as it were, from her stomach.
Nice
in which
too.
she would... in which she would say things. And she became very, very popular until she started to say...
The bloke looking at her tits.
Yeah, well... we wouldn't do that.
You've got yours out as as well tonight, you know. Is that to distract from the lip movement?
And she did very well. She was very popular until she said that if Henry VIII married Anne Boleyn, he would be deposed, and Henry VIII didn't like that at all, so had her head chopped off. And ironically, her head was put on top of a pole outside.
And carried on talking.
Well, you wonder about it. It is quite a strange fate for a ventriloquist to have their head stuck on a pole. But she was indeed, she suffered for her art. But in the 19th century, it became known to be a piece of entertainment rather than demonic spirits. But the first ventriloquists on stage didn't have dummies. Did you know that?
What did they have?
Well, they used to do things like voices inside suitcases. And there would be ones who would do chimney sweeps, where there'd be a chimney and they would do the sound of the chimney sweep boy going up the chimney and getting more and more smothered and quieter and more distant as he went. And they get huge rounds of applause. But it was a man called Fred Russell who came up with it. His character, Coster Joe, was one of the first dummies.
Was he blind? He made that one afternoon.
It's not the most beautiful object you've ever seen, is it? But that's when the dummies became popular. And there were many, many famous acts, and some of them rather bizarrely, on radio. Educating Archie. Educating Archie was one of the most successful radio comedy shows in BBC radio history. And Peter Brough, there's Peter Brough. There's Archie, where it was a radio show.
And he had the puppet the whole time? He never even bothered... Oh, what's the point for the puppet?
It's the show that Tony Hancock first appeared on, in fact. He made the terrible mistake, Peter Brough, when television arrived, of appearing on television. And he just spoke like this while his puppet was talking. I mean, he didn't even begin to venture towards ventriloquism.
Nina is a ventriloquist, apparently.
Nina is, are you?
And yet to see evidence of that. But my mentor, Ken Campbell, who taught me ventriloquism, he excited me by saying that people don't say the first thing that comes into their head, they say the second thing.
Right.
And we're all balmier than we let it be known.
Yes.
Once your insanity starts to leak, that's when they could you. But the ventriloquated doll can allow us access to the madness of the ventriloquator. It's a kind of sort of Tourette's, as it were, almost. Licensed Tourette's, dear. Yeah.
Licensed Tourette's. That's a very good thing. Yeah. Ken Campbell was one of the true great men of the 20th century as an entertainer, a director, a showmaker, actor, comic, and ventriloquist. And he was... what happened to his dolls?
Oh, he bequeathed them to me in his will. And I'm one of them, you see.
Are you really?
Yes.
Were you one of Ken Campbell's?
I was one of his, yes. So it's been recycled.
But there is a doll heaven, isn't there?
There is a doll heaven. We've just made a film about this.
Oh, have you?
Yes, because when Ken left me his puppets in his will, I found about this place called Vent Haven in Kentucky, where donkeys go to rest. There it is,
Screaming,
if you're a couleurophobe, you would be... but that's right, so over 700 ventriloquists who've died have bequeathed their puppets to Vent Haven, Kentucky, and apart from Gran, that's where...
I'm there, actually, I'm there.
Who do you reckon's murdered the most?
You think you're Chucky in Child's Play, aren't you? I mean, your classic puppet was, of course, a really big, round, blue-eyed sort of thing with dark eyebrows and a very, very particular sort of look, wasn't it? Do you recognise what that still is from?
Magic.
Magic, the film Magic. And this story is the classic of the ventriloquist who gets taken over, gets possessed. Do you think there's any truth in that? I mean, do ventriloquists get a bit slightly too close? Does Keith Harris get a bit too close?
I can't speak for him. No, because you're not that good a ventriloquist. I know that I have fallen for my puppets. What do you mean, dear? Well, I have on stage sometimes looked at Granny and thought, why aren't you saying anything? This is your line.
Oh, really? That's hilarious.
Yeah. So the madness is starting to kick in.
Yeah, it must be a wildly schizophrenic profession. Though on what dark night of the soul Keith Harris invented a duck like that?
Or a haircut
Never mind, yes, I was going to say that. That's for the shirt, holy smoke.
Well, still...
I love the fact that Orville's in a nappy, that's my favourite.
That was the odd... It was odd, wasn't it? A duck in a nappy.
Which was the opposite of Donald Duck, because he always had his privates out, didn't he?
Yes. Good point. Yep, there you go. Well...
Very good point. Very good point.
Thank you.
I think I've made that point excellently.
Yeah.
I'm delighted with that point.
Good.
I'll
give you a point for that point.
I get a point for
Yeah,
that.
you get a point
Thank
for
you.
that point. The art of ventriloquism has come on in leeks and gowns since back in the good old days.
You're doing it now.
I'm doing it. Speaking of which of you here has or has ever had or used to have an imaginary friend? Did you ever, Gran? Did you have an imaginary friend?
I think... You can't say his name. I think Bill Daly, that's a hard one. I think you're my imaginary friend. You're slightly out of focus.
Really?
Fuzzy, kind of.
Wait, so...
And you, Sean,
That's
you're
very
a bit
strange.
What?
I mean, my reality is being called into question by... This is one of the odder conversations I've had, but...
If your imaginary friend falls over in the forest and there's no one to hear, does that... I can't
That's a
finish
very
this
good
sentence.
philosophical point. We're getting Bishop Berkeley from Gran. I'm very impressed. Did you have one? I mean, a lot of children do. Did you have an imaginary friend when you were young?
I'm not aware of it.
No, your mother would have told you.
They didn't used to come around much.
Right.
An imaginary friend who doesn't play with
An
you.
imaginary friend who cuts you dead.
Yeah, I wanted to be his friend.
Oh, that's so sad.
He just wasn't interested.
But we're all familiar with, obviously, the concept of it, and the fact that a lot of children do seem to have imaginary friends, which can worry their parents.
It's really peculiar.
It is peculiar. That you have to lay places at table for them, they have to be given, you know, seats on sofas to watch television, and so on, and they have tea parties for them. But it seems, according to psychiatrists, that having an imaginary friend is a very good thing for a child, and that the children who have had them tend to have more social and verbal skills than those who don't. Although, it must be said, a certain proportion of them are malevolent. Some people have imaginary friends who scare their children, which is a very worrying thought. A nasty imaginary friend.
I hear voices.
What's that, though?
Do you?
But I ignore them and I just carry on killing.
Stop killing people, Sean.
Sean, you know this is wrong. You know this is wrong, Sean. This isn't fair. I don't deserve it. I ignore them.
Yeah.
It is, yes, it's quite a phenomenon. It was actually Yasser Arafat, of all people, who said the history of religious wars is the history of people fighting over their imaginary friends. It's weird, the leader of the PLO, the man who founded the Palestinian movement, which is now, of course, so bound up with religious extremism, was himself rather sceptical about it all. The world has hardly come on, has it? Let's be honest.
Interesting thing I know about him,
Yeah.
he married a French woman. You wouldn't think that, would you?
It's not beyond the bounds of reason.
Well, you think he's very interested in helping his local area.
Yes.
Yeah.
He'd choose one of his local women.
Yes, but the very nature of being a Palestinian meant he had no homeland in which to live, so it's quite likely he would choose someone from a homeland where he had had to reside in exile. Right. And many did in France, in fact.
Yeah.
Or maybe she was just an imaginary wife.
Maybe she was an imaginary Frenchman, or maybe she was just damn hot.
She was foxy.
Foxy, exactly.
Yeah.
Renard.
Was he a...
I imagine one of the
Was
attractions
he a pussy hound? I don't know.
I...
What's in there? Something's gone wrong.
I'm intrigued to know that... I'm intrigued to think that you thought that was what I was about to say. You looked into my eyes and thought, he's going to say pussy hound. I'll beat him to it. I'll beat him to the punch.
Now,
Is a pussy hound like a liger? It's a kind of a cat and a dog together.
It was like a dog that we used to actually... that gentlemen would send out to fan ladies.
It's
like
a
one man and his
combination.
dog.
So it's kind of both independent yet loyal.
yes.
Yeah.
I like the idea of that. Very good.
Disgusting.
Now,
Yeah.
Candice Bergen, actress.
Oh, yes.
Fond of her?
she
Superb
was,
actress.
She's very,
and still
very
is.
beautiful.
Very, very beautiful. Didn't have so much an imaginary friend as an imaginary brother. Can you imagine why that might be?
It was Charlie McCarthy, wasn't it?
Charlie, exactly,
It was
because the most famous American ventriloquist was
Edgar Bergen.
Edgar Bergen. He was
His
a huge
lips
star.
moved too.
Huge star. And his puppy was called Charlie McCarthy. And in the house, he had his own bedroom, his own wardrobe, monogrammed clothes. And Edgar Bergen's real daughter, Candice, was brought up basically as Charlie McCarthy's brother in a rather freakish and extraordinary way. It's amazing she's turned out as sane as she is. Now, you all have an invention under your benches, and we'd like to know what they are. What are we looking at?
Well, it's some kind of measuring device.
We've given it to you for a reason.
Oh,
Is all I
really?
can say. Yeah, you, a particular quality you have, you might be more likely to guess it than others.
Oh, I see. Is it a beard measuring device?
No, well, I wouldn't call your beard a quality. I mean, it's a lovely beard, but it's not a quality.
Whoa,
it's a feature.
Hey, you crossed the line, Fry.
It's a feature.
Don't
it's a
diss the
lovely,
beard.
charming facial feature.
Right.
It has a musical connection.
It has a musical connection. Oh.
If you are a certain kind of instrumentalist, you might be born, as it were, with limitations that annoy you.
Ah, wait a minute. Is this something which stretches the reach of a pianist
Yes.
so he can reach...
Exactly what it is. Yeah, well done. Well done. You put it down, that's right, and each time you stretch it, because most people might be able to manage an octave, you know,
Right.
one C to C kind of thing, and some, as you know, can do go to C to E.
I can do C to E.
Can you? That's
Yes.
a wide reach.
It is a wide reach. I see. So that's it. So the hand would go in there,
Yeah.
and then you just undo this thing here,
And that's right, and stretch and,
and
stretch
then
until
this would
eventually...
then stretch and
Yeah.
stretch and stretch like that.
Yeah. Supposedly it would give you... Ow, exactly.
Ah.
So, what have you got there, Sean?
It's a bottle, Stephen.
And what do you think it was for?
For putting stuff in.
OK, so, Mex, moving on to you. What have you got there?
Is this one mine? It's a cossetry for charling a coffee.
Well, do you know the bizarre thing is you're not far off?
Oh, really? Oh,
Yes,
no.
if you can
It's
unscrew the
teak or
bottom.
tip.
If you unscrew the
You'd
bottom
have to
part-
help me, Gran.
yes.
With my teeth, yeah. Help me. I can't get a grip.
Maybe Bill will help.
You get one of those with a
I can't do it, dear.
Yes?
preparation H.
You get one of the...
Wait a
Alan's
minute.
on
Has
it?
this been up someone's ass?
Yes.
Yeah.
Alan has exactly got it.
You screw... When you get preparation H,
Yeah.
you screw a plastic one of those on
Yeah.
the top, you insert it in your rectum,
Yeah.
and the
Out of the holes
shark oil comes out the holes.
comes the hemorrhoid treatment. Exactly right. For the treatment of hemorrhoids.
Right. So what happens? This unscrews.
Yeah. And you pop in the ointment.
The ointment goes in there.
Yeah, then you screw it up.
Then-
Then,
right.
then you put the thing up your body.
Up the
and then
old,
you, then you screw that, and as you
taxi.
screw it up, the ointment squirts up, reaching all the places it needs to reach.
Squirts
Oh,
out.
wow.
Happy
That's
days,
quite clever.
dear. Happy
Because at least half the people on the planet will be afflicted with hemorrhoids at some point in their lives. So it is-
So is this something you could self-medicate, or...
Yes, you could do it. You don't need to.
Oh,
you can
yes.
ask
I'll
a friend
do
to do it if you
it.
wanted.
Yeah.
Imagine friend, I think it would be best, to be perfectly honest. What are yours, Alan? What have you got?
I've got on a pair of glasses that enable me to see into my lap. Now, I wonder
Yeah.
if they're... Because I can read this book,
Yeah.
right, without... But I'm looking up at you.
Yeah.
So whilst I'm looking down, I can read and write, but see straight ahead. So are they for an artist or a painter?
No, actually, they're more sort of lazy than that. They're called lying down spectacles. You'd lie in bed and you'd put the book on your chest and you'd be able to read like that, lying down. It's rather elegant and pleasing.
Actually,
isn't
no,
it?
that's exactly what you need when you're sunbathing, and you always have to hold
Yes,
the book like
isn't
that.
that the idea?
And actually, yeah, you can do it.
Absolutely perfect.
Yeah, it doesn't look weird at all. It's great.
If you caught the sun on the mirror, you'd be instantly blinded.
Blinded.
That would be the problem. But it's a surprisingly clear image, isn't it? And here I have this little device with a cork on the end, and this. It's in the shape almost of a policeman's whistle, which is a hint, because policemen would carry these around with them.
That's for blowing bubbles.
It does look like it, doesn't it? There'll be a liquid in there, you're absolutely right.
Oh, right. With,
Liquid be a sort of salts of ammonia, sal volatile. Do you know?
Oh, smelling salts.
Smelling salts, exactly.
Bringing
And
round.
this was called a policeman's lady reviver. So
I need that, dear. Can I
you
have a
need a
sniff?
lady reviver. So when a lady fainted in the street, the policeman would whip it out there and just... Please. Oh. And he'd whip it out and wave it under... He'd whip it out and wave it under the lady's nose. That would wake her up. Yes, the sharp smell of ammonia, which was what was in the smelling salts.
I see.
And have you come to a more sensible decision as to about what your flask is for? It's got it written on it, if you took the trouble to bloody read it.
Hardened star hand grenade.
Yeah.
It's a hand grenade, Stephen.
It's a kind of hand grenade, yes. It's actually a fire extinguisher hand grenade.
It's a water grenade.
You'd fill it with aqueous solution and you would throw it at a fire. And that was the idea. That would, you'd throw it.
Yeah.
Well, there you are. Those were our inventions. Lots of very imaginative ones there, and they're kindly lent to us by the Morris Collins collection, and all in beautiful condition. Thank you for that, and thank you for not breaking them. How did Edwin Beard Budding's invention affect an army of men with wooden blocks strapped to their feet?
Did he invent duckboards?
No, but at least you're thinking.
No,
I mean in a non-patronising way.
Nobody knows.
He's put up the card backwards.
Cheapskate. You just put it on one side. You cheap bastard.
Yeah, that's right. It's their fault. You held it up the wrong way.
That doesn't count. I put it out the wrong way.
We do exactly know why.
You do know, all right.
There was a profession which employed many people, and in order to fulfil their profession, to practice it, they wore blocks on their feet. But Edward's invention got rid of the need for these people all the time. No, it's rather weirder than that. There's a hint for you, darlings.
Oh, grass.
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 Yes.
Grasses.
How, if you wanted a lawn in olden days, how would you...
Mow the roller.
You would mow it with a roller?
No, the roller.
The roller flattens it. It doesn't cut the grass.
Scything.
You'd scythe it. You'd have armies in grand country houses. You'd have scythemen. And they had, like a golf swing, a very precise action. And so the grass was according to how high they were. So they'd wear blocks for the higher grass and the shorter blocks for the lower grass, and that's how they would scythe away. And this man, Edwin, he invented a little machine for sort of cutting the nap of cloth on soldiers' uniforms. And he thought, I wonder if that would work on grass. And he eventually came up with the lawnmower. And you may say, well, it's a pretty good invention, but actually it altered the world in the most amazing way. It allowed football, cricket, all kinds of games to be played, public parks. Everybody could suddenly have a lawn.
So, yes.
So he was rather a human benefactor in a way.
Yes, he was. And where did he do this?
In Stroud.
In Stroud?
Stroud in Gloucestershire.
Is he celebrated there?
Edwin Budding, I'm sure he is in Stroud. Edward Budding, I hope anyone in Stroudians watching.
There's
Probably up there with
statue of
Laurie Lee as one of the great Strouders.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's a shame for the men. It's my idea of heaven, a lot of men that can't run away from you very quickly. With their blocks on.
It was a shame for the scythemen, I suppose. Oh. But, yeah, a happy story. I don't see a downside to that story, apart from the fact that there is a British Lawnmowers Museum, which is a bit depressing.
But,
the Southport British Lawnmower Museum, if you happen to be in Southport, in Merseyside, has over 300 exhibits, especially for its lawnmowers of the rich and famous, where you were able to look and possibly even touch Vanessa Feltz's lawnmower. Not just Vanessa Feltz, Alan Titchmarsh.
Oh, he'd probably have a really nice one.
Yes, I bet he did. Nicholas Parsons. What sort of lawnmower would Nicholas Parsons have, do you imagine?
Heavily made up.
Heavily made up!
A Baker-like one.
Brian May.
Brian May.
Roger McGuff, Albert Pierpoint, public home, and Prince Charles and Princess Diana. I can't believe they had personal lawnmowers.
I don't mow my grass.
Huh? Don't you? What do you do with it?
I threaten it.
Ah. Does it work? Huh? Yeah.
Going very well.
Shrinks
Cowed it into submission.
Cow it into submission.
Don't you grow?
Yeah. Anyway, the invention of the lawnmower put large numbers of scythemen out to grass, as you might say. The inventor of bacon and eggs also coined the phrase torches of freedom. Who was he? What were they?
Sorry, the inventor of bacon and eggs?
It sounds a bit mad, but bacon and eggs as a dish that is a sort of breakfast staple was invented, as it were, by one man. He made it popular. Torches of freedom is a phrase that he came up with, the same man. His name was Edward Bernays. He happened to be a nephew of Sigmund Freud.
Oh, well.
So it is a He was employed by a food company, and American breakfasts in his day were very light. A roll, orange juice, cup of coffee, that was it. He collected 5,000 doctors who basically made testament to the fact that a heavy breakfast was better for you than a light breakfast. And he basically persuaded America that they should eat heartily for breakfast, and bacon and eggs became the staple. And this man is really responsible for what we call public relations.
2 million deaths by heart disease later.
As well, not only that, but he also got women to smoke. There was a real problem. There was a real problem.
Did he encourage that man to jump off the Eiffel Tower?
There was a real problem in the early part of the 20th century as far as the tobacco companies were concerned, is that women just didn't smoke. In fact, in New York City in the 20s, a woman was arrested for smoking outside. It was considered totally unfeminine.
Photos from the olden days when they clearly said, now, come on, girls.
Well, that's the point.
Everyone's having a drag at exactly the same moment.
No, this is the point, Alan. This is a photo opportunity. He invented it. This is his PR moment. His job was to sell cigarettes to women and to sell them to America, the idea that women should smoke. So during an Easter parade, he got these women and photographed them all smoking, and it was a scandal. It was on the front page everywhere. But what he said was, he said, this is feminism. This was during the suffrage movement in America, trying to get women the vote. And he said, this is an act of independence. These cigarettes are not cigarettes. They are torches of freedom.
Torches of freedom.
That's right. Oh. And so the idea that women smoking became a proof of their independence and a proof, as it were, of their feminism.
She's set that to her face, the one.
She has, right. She has
Well, they've got the hang of it.
Not very used to the smoking, as they say, wasn't. So he was a pretty cunning devil, this Edward Bernays. Right, well, that's enough imaginative invention. Let's now turn our attention to the very real but entirely impractical business of general ignorance. Oh. So fingers on buzzers, those that are still working. Who invented the internet?
Now.
Yes.
Tim Berners...
Yes. Unfortunately, I couldn't remember the name. Oh, that's lucky you couldn't remember his name.
Oh, yeah. No, not Tim Berners-Lee.
I think I'm safe for this answer. Yeah. Parsley the lion.
It's wrong, there's no forfeit.
But on this very programme, you were telling the story of how Tim Berners-Lee invented the internet.
Of how he invented the World Wide Web. Which is much later than the internet.
That's
the internet has already been around for 20 years before that. It's just like one of the things that you can use on the internet. Oh. Yes, it was actually the 1960s.
Oh, 1960s?
Early
famous,
60s.
One of the Beatles.
No, that's not quite how things worked. ARPANET was the original internet. It was an offshoot of the American Defense Program, and the first communication took place in California. And when was that? In 1969, 2 computers. And they were 400 miles apart, one in LA and one at the Stanford Research Institute. And the first message was LO. And it wasn't going to say LOL.
I was going to say LOL.
It did get cut off there. It was going to say login, but it crashed after the L and the O. But it was the first worthy attempt. Do you use the computer, Gran?
Yes, I use it for dating. Do you, Oh, yes, I do, yes. I've met a racing driver. And he thinks I'm a 20-year-old lap dancer. Happy days. I didn't know that. He's in for a shock.
Yeah. According to Berners-Lee, who did invent the World Wide Web, the true fathers of the internet, he says, are Vint Cerf and Bob Kahn, who invented the internet protocol. So there you are. Now, how did dinosaurs have sex? You're right! We're right, Alan. We just don't know. You're good at that.
There are no extant genitals.
No, there aren't. Soft tissue, or, well, they wouldn't necessarily be soft, but the soft tissues are the bits that don't survive in fossils, of course. It's only in the last 15 years they've been able to sex a dinosaur fossil. The female dinosaurs have a special sort of cavity for making extra calcium for eggs, and that's how you can tell from a fossil whether it's a female or a male one. But obviously that would be wrong, because that would be interspecies dinosaur sex of the weirdest kind, and would be... No, that wouldn't be right.
I think he's just looking for a cheap thrill. I don't think that's about procreation at all, meeting.
No,
that's like a dinosaur S&M dungeon, that, isn't it?
Yes. The best guess is that, like most birds and reptiles, dinosaurs had a cloacal sac. A sort of single opening for both waste and reproduction. It's not like a sac so much as an opening. Like sharks, exactly. And they mated by a cloacal kiss. And there we are. What are the right conditions for dry rot?
Well, it's damp.
Yes,
it's damp.
That's the point.
It's a trick question, dear.
It's
a trick question, yes.
It's a trick question. Have you ever had dry rot?
Only on my face.
Oh, right, lovely.
The latex.
That's lovely news. Dry rot needs to be damp.
Yep.
What about rising damp? The weird thing about rising damp, the really surprising thing about rising damp, can you tell me what that is?
It's not damp.
It goes down.
Even more extraordinary than that. According to many, many people in the architectural, surveying and building world, it doesn't exist. It's made-uppy.
It's mould. It's just mould.
Well, yeah, it's basically normal damp, which has come from a source like a leak or something. And this idea that there's rising damp, you need to put it in a damp course, because there are many people who genuinely say it honestly doesn't exist, and yet it's in the building regulations. The former chairman of the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors said it was a myth, rising damp. A building expert written a book on the rising damp myth, says that rising damp is only possible in swamps. There's a diagnosis, it only became common in the 60s.
Although I tell you, when you do see it, I've seen girls in London wearing flared jeans going over their shoes.
Yes.
And on a rainy day, they get down almost up to their knees.
It's not to say that capillary action doesn't exist. It does.
Rising damp only exists in ladies' jeans.
Yes, that may be the only place. But it's a heck of a controversial thought, but a myth. Name a disease spread by feral pigeons.
Crumb hair.
There aren't any.
Exactly.
Viles disease.
There's nothing wrong with them.
There's nothing wrong with them, again, is the answer. You're doing awfully well.
I'm doing very well.
Fire, you are on fire tonight. Yeah, basically this idea that there are disease-infested and disease-spreading vermin is nonsense, according to all experts on pigeons. But this whole thing of them as being rats with wings is considered very unfair by those in the know, that they don't really spread that much disease. Though they do obviously leave a fair amount of poo, but then so do humans, don't we? Yeah. We've just got a better way of dealing with it, perhaps.
Yeah, I tend not to leave it on people's shoulders.
That's the difference.
I mean, I wasn't so as well brought up. There was a few benchmarks we tried to set early on in my toilet training.
Yeah, that was one of them.
That was one of them. They
Never
said,
on the shoulder.
That had a big no to it, like a big red no. It was in my bedroom on the door. And there's a picture of a man
when you're flying.
with a turd over his shoulder. And he said, "No, Sean."
You've learnt your lesson. We're all very tidy poos, I'm sure, here in this room, including Granny. Are you very tidy poo?
Not at all. Don't even do them, dear.
You
Don't
don't?
eat, don't excrete.
That's the secret of a long and happy life. And that's your lot. Time to invent the scores. Oh, my goodness me. Very exciting indeed. I'm afraid, despite some remarkable performances, in last place, with -3, it's Bill Bailey. And in a very creditable 4th place, with 1 point, Alan Davis. In the plus. 3rd place with 3, Sean Locke. In 2nd place with 4 is Gran.
Oh, very nice.
Brilliant. Which means that our winner with +5 is Nina Conti. Thanks to Bill, Nina, Gran, Sean and Alan, and I leave you with this from Sid Caesar. The guy who invented the first wheel was an idiot. The guy who invented the other 3, he was a genius. Good night.
Exploring the history of writing and the importance of libraries, Stephen Fry's Planet Word continues tomorrow night at 9 here on BBC Two. Next tonight, looking back over an impressive 50-year career, Lulu, Something to Shout About.